Water's been in the news, I guess, on an endless cycle of late. If it's not the sort of increasingly complex discussions around the Three Waters reform, it's the recent flooding, which has given us all I guess you'd say, a fairly decent wake-up call around the challenges with urban development and the impacts of climate change. Whilst the media attention on water has undoubtedly broadened the awareness of the issues and started conversations with a wide range of people, it's also muddied the water, shall we say, around some of the solutions. I'm sure that we've all heard the term sponge cities and wondered whether that really is the fix that we're after. We all know that urban water is a vehicle for contaminants and that the impact of urban water is having significant impacts on our receiving environments and freshwater values. But we also know that there are ways that we can do things better. Many of you will also have heard terms such as water-sensitive urban design, green infrastructure, sustainable urban drainage, low-impact design, and more recently, nature-based solutions. All of these concepts are founded on a recognition of the need to improve the health and well-being of our natural environment through integrating water into the urban landscape. But unfortunately, for a range of reasons, this change from business as usual to a more holistic and integrated approach is proving challenging. And so to tackle that, I guess, myself, Stu Farrant, an ecological engineer with Morpham Environmental, and
myself, Allan Leahy, a civil stormwater engineer with Auckland Council,
are here to put on a couple of workshops as a precursor to the Water NZ Stormwater Conference to discuss some of these issues in more depth. Allan.
Well, I think we should start with you, Stu.
Okay,
what's your workshop about? You're doing the morning session.
Yeah, right. So in the morning, I mentioned the term nature-based solutions before, which is sort of a fairly catch-all term that really covers the holistic side of stormwater and how we can either use natural processes or mimic the natural processes to better manage our urban environments and in particular water. And that may sound relatively easy, but it's a lot more complex. There's a lot of different facets involved, and so the morning workshop is going to unpick some of those with a theme of how we can make sure that the nature works within our nature-based solutions.
And I guess we neatly dovetail into that with the afternoon workshop, where we'll have a number of, two in particular, operations-based people talking about, hey, once we've got these devices, practices, how can we maintain them so they keep performing the functions that we want them to perform in the long term? Because at the moment, most of those are delivered via vesting process and subdivision processes. And a subdivision, the subdividers just want to get something up so they can move the sections on, but there's a long-term operational context that needs to be considered with these devices so that they will continue to work for us and perform those multiple functions that we want from them, both the water quality functions, often a detention function, an ecological function, and also an aesthetic function. What we want is good community assets, not just bits of engineering infrastructure.
Yeah, that's so essentially I'll be covering in the morning around some of the key design elements, and that'll go broader than just wetlands. So we're talking about rain gardens, we're talking about integrated water, so rainwater harvesting to mimic natural flow patterns and things, and really diving quite deep into some of those ecological concepts that underpin the work. And then I think that's a great segue to the afternoon session, which I'm sure everyone will want to stay around for as well. Which then looks at how these can be designed with more of that operational element. Would that be a good?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you indicated, we are just picking up on the one device, the wetland device, because as we get into the detail, half a day's not enough time to talk about it.
So who do we want to come along, Allan?
For me, designers. Particularly those designing for development processes and those vested assets, but also the regulators who get to evaluate those devices and say, yes, we'll have one of those, thanks, or hang on, no, that's not right. Let's get everyone in the same room and let's compare notes. Let's have those discussions. Let's see how we can create community assets that work for the long term, not just a bit of engineering infrastructure that's built for the short term.
Mm. Yeah, so I think we're probably a similar audience in the morning session
Yep.
too, where we'll be looking more at those ecological elements. But I guess the term transdisciplinary comes in, and often there's scientists,
Yep.
environmental engineers like ourselves, but also the likes of landscape architects and urban designers, and really, if we don't all learn to understand the underpinning concepts, and work together accordingly, we'll continue to see some of these less than ideal outcomes that we often see across the country. So I think it would be of interest to anyone who's involved in urban stormwater management, and certainly anyone who has an interest in how we can use more nature-based solutions to solve some of these complex and wicked challenges we face.
Look, couldn't agree more. I use the term multidiscipline or multi-professional design. The only way we'll be successful with these devices is not to just engineer them. The engineering's important and it's one aspect, but it's about all the professionals involved, whether they're engineers, and there's a range of engineering disciplines involved, but there's also biology, botany, geomorphology. There's a whole lot involved. So it's very multidisciplinary, because we're now achieving multiple outcomes with these devices. They're not just a drainage system, which has one function, drain water away efficiently. We're trying to do a lot more. That takes a lot more inputs.
So I think the moral of the story is come along on the Monday before the conference kicks off. Register for one or both, and would really look forward to sort of unpicking some of these tricky questions.
Absolutely. Look forward to seeing you there.